I'm Santiago, and today I'm gonna be testing Yakuza Like a Dragon on the 1050 Ti, then the 750 Ti, then the 570, then the 580, and then the 1650 Super. If the time is enough, we're going to do as well the 2060, the RTX 2060 as well in a separate live stream. So if I do so, I'll let you know in the in the chat. How are you guys doing? Good seeing you there. Krista says, hi. Can it run 60 frames per second? Well, we're about to find out. Hopefully, yes, on the 570 and 580 and 1650 Super. And Festive says, great job in trying to cover all the new releases. Thank you, I'm trying. There's a little too many games coming out this time of the month. So let's get started. I'm going to be using an Xbox 360 controller, since usually the Yakuza games are way better using controllers. So anyways. So in the options menu, we got, let me show you, resolution, FOV on a third-person game, pretty weird. And then here we got textures, texture filtering, shadows, geometry, real-time reflections, motion blur, SSAO, render scale, anti-aliasing, depth of field, and multi-sampling. Multi-sampling should be like MSAA as far as I know. So we're going to start with this one, with these settings you see here. Let me move around. There you go. Those are the settings at the moment on 1080p resolution. So yeah, let's jump right in, shall we? So new game. Yeah, I'm going to skip every cutscene because this is about performance, not not cutscenes. So go through a walkthrough channel to see that. But this is only for performance reasons. So yeah. Como a todo bien. Saludos desde Uruguay. Como dice saludos desde Colombia, yo te saludo desde Uruguay. So, skip. ¿No estás transmitiendo a 60 FPS? Se supone que sí. A ver, déjame chequear. Hang on, guys. Apparently, I'm not streaming at the correct frame rate. Hang on. Let me see. Oh no, it's not at 60 frames. What the heck? Let me check. How weird. I selected 60 when starting the live stream. So I don't know, something is up with that. I'm so sorry, guys. For some reason YouTube is not streaming this at 60 frames per second. What the heck? So weird. Anyways, next time I'm going to fix it. Unfortunately, this time around, it seems to be a technical problem. So yeah, where do you live? I live in Uruguay. So sorry guys, you have to make do with the performance metrics. Alright, I cannot skip this. Okay. So already on the maximum settings, we're getting 30 frames per second, drops into the 20s. Okay. Probably have to do some tweaks, but I cannot pause the game and change settings here. It's 60 frames per second. To me it wasn't. To me it was 30. How weird. Anyways. Are you guys seeing this at 60 frames or is it at 30 frames, the live stream? 60 frames, okay. So maybe some people see it at 30, some others at 60. I saw it at 30 on my end, so that's weird. Anyways. But I know that I'm streaming at 60 in general, so shouldn't have a problem. As you can see, I have no control over what's happening, only quick time events at the start. Okay, I can skip now. Wonderful. I love when I can skip cutscenes. So far it's been 30 frames, but it's been dropping into the 20s at times. So this is the new thing about the Yakuza game. It's not actually a beat 'em up like before. It's a game where you fight in turns, like the old Final Fantasy stuff, as you can see. I'm not doing anything. I only have to select to attack. And I can eat items in the middle. More like Persona 5, I would say. So it's more like Persona 5, but on the Yakuza franchise. So you got a great story. But the combat is not like before, unfortunately. I'm not a big fan of this style of combat. But the story seems to be pretty great, so Yeah. Alright. So... yeah, Kamurocho always kills the frame rate. Yeah. So we're going to try getting the best performance possible after we finish this fight. We should be in the open world there. Okay, I leveled up. Which is pretty hilarious that he leveled up by just doing some slow punches. Alright. Do you prefer this fighting style or the old one? By a long shot, I prefer the older fighting style, the button mashing madness. I love that. This is really not my cup of tea, but if the story is good, I'm willing to look over the different combat. Okay, so we are now into the open world. Great, that was very fast. So let's get to the demanding part of Kamurocho. So we're running around into the center of the city. So far we're getting 30 frames. Yeah. So let's get to that demanding part. But this is a game that, in my opinion, does not require 60 frames to be enjoyable like it was on the previous ones. Okay, this is the bad part. The middle of the city, but we're basically at 30. When running around, we're dropping into the upper 20s. But since it's quick time event heavy and the combat is by turns, and you're not actually doing anything in real time, really, I don't think it's a big deal. So let's tweak the settings. So we're going to lower shadows first. So shadows from high to medium. Let's try that. So we apply the settings and go back. So shadows to medium. And we already get an extra 5 FPS. As you can see, now we're, instead of being into the upper 20s, low 30s, we're in the mid 30s. So I will probably play the game like this in real life. Since, I mean, it's quick time event heavy. I don't really need those 60 frames. It looks good, don't get me wrong. Let me see if I lower this to low. If we can get 60s. So we're going to lower it to the minimum, almost the minimum. So we apply the settings. Let's see. Okay. On the lowest settings, almost the lowest settings actually, we are getting 40s. So you're not getting 60s on the 1050 Ti on 1080p. I'll try lowering it one more time. So we're going to lower texture filtering, anti-aliasing, yeah, basically the lowest settings now. So let's see the lowest settings. So status, low settings. So guys, on 1080p you're not getting 60s on low settings even. So my best settings for 1080p would probably be medium shadows and the rest on the maximum. Yeah, definitely. So we're going to see if we can get better settings on lower resolutions. So we swap quickly to 900p, then we play with the best settings. But for now, let's try 900p lowest. Let's see if we can get 60s. So now 900p resolution. So on 900p, we're getting, on the lowest settings, okay, 50 to 60. And the CPU is maxed out. Holy hell, so much CPU usage. Never mind, it went back down, better said. So if you want 60 frames, you can do so on 900p low settings, 50 to 60. So yeah, guys, do not worry about the performance really. In my opinion, it's better in this case to improve to get better visuals, personally speaking, because you're not actually doing any real-time fighting. So let's put it on the maximum on 900p. So we do TAA, depth of field. Whoa, I screwed up, sorry. So reflections, yeah. Give me all that sweet quality. So 900p now, we are on the highest settings, almost the highest settings, so high settings. I don't have a 3500X, but it should be enough for streaming if you're doing some light gaming and using an NVIDIA card with NVIDIA encoder. But as you can see on 900p on high settings, you're over 30 frames per second in the bad part of Kamurocho. So if you want 30 frames, max settings 900p, max settings high shadows 1080p, and let's see 720p now, just to finish testing stuff. So we confirm 720p. So 720p highest settings, almost the highest settings at 720. Let's see. So 720p high settings, we're getting 50s. Alright, 40s, 40 to 60 frames. So my tweak for 720p will probably be medium shadows, like on 1080p. To get better frame rates, just lower shadows to medium. So medium shadows. Let me hide the frame rate counter. This will be my best settings for 60 frames on 1080p, on 720p. So yeah, as you can see now, we're getting 60s. So high settings, medium shadows. Seems to be the optimized settings for 60 frames at 720p. When talking about bottlenecking, the real answer is that it depends. Yeah, true, Brandon, you're completely right. It's a case-to-case basis there. So yeah, for 60 frames, 720p, medium shadows, high settings on the 1050 Ti. So now that that's out of the way, let's play a little bit with the best settings in my opinion, which is 1080p on these settings, which is high settings without multi-sampling, and let me put to the side. This will be my best settings for 1080p 30 frames. As you can see, just lower shadows to medium, turn off multi-sampling, and you'll be getting over 30 frames. So yeah, let's change the status to 1080p and play a little bit more of the game. And put the frame rate counter on screen so you can see it. So yeah, as you can see, this gives us 30 frames per second. And again, since the game is not really meant to be real-time combat, this is turn-based combat like on an older Final Fantasy title. 30 frames should be fine. Try 8K for fun, maybe on the 1650 Super, but not on this one. But it will be funny. I did 8K on Star Wars Squadrons, and it was pretty funny because yeah, it was like 10 FPS or 5 FPS on the 1650 Super. I'm trying to see how to go around. This city can usually be a maze. When do you test 750 Ti? Whoa, we drop into the upper 20s there. What the heck? Probably reflections. When do you test a 750 Ti? After this one I'm doing 750 Ti, which probably will be 720p with these settings. But hey. What's your favorite game? My favorite game is probably Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. That would be, I think. Alright, this is the place. Turn off real-time reflection. Let's see the performance. Yeah, sure. But hang on, gotta skip those cutscenes. Yeah. Come on. Alright. Let me see the difference with reflections. Now that someone asked, we are getting 41 here. And if we disable reflections, how much do we get? 41 versus 43. So if there are no reflections present, you get a couple extra frames. But other than that, shouldn't be a big issue. So yeah, let's keep going. Kamurocho. You're the reason I have to trust in 1050 Ti. Well, I'm glad. If you bought the card, you can still play games. If you bought the card when it was released. So yeah. Anyways. I want some more fighting, please. You should do the graphical settings analysis video separately for games like you did with that Avengers game. Yeah, I want to do that, but there are so many new games coming out that it's been pretty difficult to cover them all. Alright. Skills. Select skills to unleash your special attacks. There are three types of skills: attack, recovery, and support. Okay. Skills. Let's use this one. Okay, there's some button mashing to be done. But really, still turn-based combat, basically. Perfect guard. Press B in the time the enemy attack to perform a perfect guard. Let's destroy him. Boom, he's done. He was defeated. Oh, you can guard. Okay. So there's some sort of thing that you can do. Interesting. So there's some sort of attack that you can do. Still, 30 frames feels like enough, despite being able to cover just in time. Let's destroy him. Yeah, he's done for. You're using an external capture card for this or the CPU? Check the description. Everything is listed below. Alright. Yeah, but I could still use that, what's the name of this? Oh man, today I'm a little slow with vocabulary. I was able to cover just fine using 30 frames per second, so... yeah, seems to be fine. Alright. I guess I better get that plunger from the lady at the cigarette shop. What? So random. Turn-based combat, meh. Yeah, in my opinion, I don't really enjoy turn-based combat. But it's turn-based combat with some real-time stuff going on, like blocking. I'm doing the next card in a couple minutes. Patience, guys. What's the best CPU we can pair with the 570? I would say a Ryzen 3 3100. That should be the best value proposition. Let's destroy him. Boom. As you can see here, you can manually block an attack. Okay, that's hilarious. He absolutely failed. Come on. Yeah, I got him. That was hilarious. He was unable to use the hammer. Are you getting the new consoles? At the moment, no plans to do so, unless I get a review unit. But, I mean, they're too expensive in my country. They will be like triple the price. So right now, no chance. But hey, who knows, in the future, I might get one. Too much QTE? Well, that's basically the thing with this game. What you're getting into. I would focus on the story more than anything else. But the effects are getting a great performance hit, as you were saying. Grapher. That's true. Just like Yakuza, the second one. So anyways. So my best settings are this. 1080p resolution, high settings, no multi-sampling, and medium shadows. Let's now do a different GPU. I saved my progress, so let's get there. Let's close the game. So... shut down the PC. Whoa. Bye-bye PC. I already set the best settings, so you guys know now. If you want 60 frames, do these settings, but at 720p. So let's swap to the 750 Ti. Let's see if the Mammoth from 2014 can do something on this game. So we shut it down. We remove the 1050 Ti, as you can see. Let's put it to the side. And it's time for the 750 Ti, the legendary graphics card from 2014. Alright. Do you like Yakuza 0? Yeah, it's my favorite in the franchise. It's funny how the 750 Ti is basically a PS4 performance, if not better. It depends on the game, really. Lately, it hasn't been that way. The console optimization is pretty good now. So yeah. Do you have an RX 5700 XT? I don't, Meme Killer 69, but I have an RX 580, which should be pretty close in that range. Bueno, ¿tendré problemas para mover el juego en un Ryzen 7 y una 1080 Ti en 2K Ultra 60 FPS? No creo. Yo creo que te debería ir lo más bien, Charlie. Si no, baja 1080p o bájale a las sombras un poquito. Alright guys, we're back into the PC now. Time to launch MSI Afterburner. Perfect. So we're doing 1080p on this one, as usual. So let's get back into the PC. This is not a green screen, this is NVIDIA broadcast. Good thing I do not need a green screen. As you can see, 750 Ti. So let's jump right into the game now. So Yakuza Like a Dragon. Do you have a 1650? No, I no longer have the 1650, but I have the 1650 Super, 750 Ti 6 FPS, wish luck. Well, hopefully at 720p lowest settings, but who knows? Who knows? Good background, well thank you. It's from Motion Made. You can find the link to the background in the description. If you like the background, just let the artist that made the background know. Again, link in the description at the bottom of the description. You can find the link to the background. Pretty cool background in my opinion. Okay, Yakuza Like a Dragon. So in the settings, we're going to select first 1080p, but we're going to lower the settings. So let's hide that. So textures, we're going to lower them to low, only 2 GB of VRAM. Low shadows, geometry, let's keep it on medium. No reflections, no SSAO, and let's put TAA without depth of field. Let's see if we can get 30s with this configuration on the 750 Ti. So let's call this low settings, mid geometry. So we're going to start with that resolution, 1080p on the 750 Ti, low settings, medium geometry. And we're going to restart the game probably. So 1 second guys. So Yakuza Like a Dragon. Do you will overclock it? Yeah, probably. If we are not getting great numbers, I'm going to overclock it. Yeah, sure. Is there any major sale before the Steam Winter Sale? Probably not. But we're going to find out soon, I guess. There's a webpage that tells you when the next Steam sale is rumored to be. Alright, come on. You're thinking about upgrading your 1660 to a 2070 Super and a 2600X. Do you think my CPU will be able to work normally? Yeah, it should be fine. If you're aiming for 60, most games should be fine. So let's continue where I was before. Let's do this part. Tenés 2x8 GB de RAM, Intel i5 6400 y 52 GB, vale la pena el upgrade a 580, ya envejeció demasiado. Yo saltaría a la 580, sí. Okay guys, so on 1080p lowest settings, let's lower geometry. We're getting below 30 on 1080p, so let's also disable the anti-aliasing. So this is the absolute lowest settings now, and the textures look pretty terrible. And we're still below 30 frames per second, as you can see on the lowest settings. So you're not getting 30s on the 750 Ti on this resolution, and the textures look awful. Let's be honest here. On low settings, the textures pretty muddy. And we are at 1.6 gigabytes of VRAM usage. So let's try the 900p resolution now. So 900p. Okay. So 900p lowest settings now. So 900p resolution, and I'm going to adjust the FPS scanner. Bear with me, guys. So 900p resolution on the lowest settings, we're getting mid-30s. I'm going to probably crank up some stuff. So let's go to the demanding part, and let's see. Yeah, probably low settings 900p is the way to get 30 frames with the highest resolution possible. I probably will crank up those textures though. It doesn't seem to be using that much VRAM. Let's see. Yeah, not sure if this changed the textures in real time. But in the meantime, 900p seems to be the best resolution that you can get out of this card. As you can see, we're getting 30s in the bad part. But you need to lower the settings to the absolute lowest. We're lowering the FOV help with the FPS as well. Yes, but this is the default FOV. So it shouldn't be a huge difference really. But let's try it now that we're here. FOV. What the heck? What a weird FOV slider. Anyways. So 25 FOV. Whoa! That FOV is so much closer, but we earned a couple of extra frames. Yeah, but still, this is a little bit too close, in my opinion. So 35 FPS with this FOV, and if we go back to the default FOV, which was 35, I think. Yeah, we just lose 1 FPS from the default FOV to this one. So yeah, 900p low settings seems to be the highest resolution that we can master on this card. So let's go for 720 now. So 720p. 720p is probably the best that you can get out of this in terms of performance. So 720p now. Let's see, 720p, we're getting 40s on the lowest setting, so no 60 frames on this card, even at 720p. So we're going to now do the quality check. So we're going to now do medium textures, medium shadows, high geometry, reflections, SSAO, anti-aliasing on TAA, and depth of field. Let's see if we can maintain 30 frames. Okay, mid-30s. So the best settings for this card would be high settings with medium shadows and textures at 720p. So this will be the best settings for the 750 Ti. You get the best visuals possible, you get 30 frames, which in a turn-based game, really 30 frames is okay, in my opinion. So yeah. Again, thanks to SEGA for providing a copy of the game. I have to say it multiple times because I got the game for free. So guys, remember that. I didn't see any difference changing FOV. I just saw 1 extra FPS, so yeah, probably you want to keep that FOV. Is this game coming to Steam? It's on Steam. I'm playing it on Steam. This game is a Steam game as far as I know. So if you want to get it, guys, it's on Steam, available right now, since yesterday actually. So yeah, anyways. So these are the best settings for the 750 Ti. We're swapping to the 570 in a couple minutes. Wanna do at least one fight. So yeah, if you don't mind 720p and you want good graphics in comparison to the other resolutions, you probably want to use these settings. I mean, the shadows look good, there's ambient occlusion, there's reflections. So yeah, it's 720p, but there is decent settings going on. This is not the lowest. No tiene dramas de drivers la PC con un tanto sapeo de GPU. Siempre borro los drivers antes de hacer un stream. Así que en realidad no hay problema por eso, porque periódicamente los estoy borrando. Así que no pasa nada. Try texture on high, maybe later. But textures on high, I think, use more than 2 GB. So yeah. Let's skip everything. Thank you, game, for letting me skip all the content. Alright. Come on. Let's get to the fight. An Asian game is not available in Asia. What? Really? Is that for real? Well, in Asia this game is called Yakuza 7, as far as I know. So that's maybe why. Yeah, performance seems okay in this card considering it's 720p on high settings. Let's crank up those textures. Hopefully it doesn't require me to restart the game. Yeah, it doesn't seem to change the textures in real time, so put textures on medium, in my opinion. That should be good enough. So let's go into the fight. Let's see how it fares with effects on screen, which is usually GPU related. So we're going to use one of those skills that use a lot of effects, so we mash square. Alright, even with the effects, it seems to be fine. As you can see, you can block in real time. So you can guard in real time, but at 30 frames seemed okay. Let's destroy him with effects on screen. Bam! Mid-30s when effects are on screen, so seems okay. Yeah, even when blocking, feels good enough. Just make sure to use a controller on this. I don't imagine mashing a keyboard. Mashing a keyboard in this game is probably going to feel weird. Let's use the fire attack. There we go. He's done for. Yeah, even with effects on screen, we're not dropping below 30. So yeah, I think these are the best settings for this card. Just make sure to put textures on medium, so the game doesn't look like a muddy thing. I'm doing pretty well, thank you. What about you, man? Good seeing you there. Thank you guys for joining this live stream. If you haven't already, like the live stream, it helps out a ton. And subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this content, GPU testing on multiple budget things, and sometimes not so budget. It really depends. So we did the 750 Ti, 1050 Ti, time to do the 570 and 580, then the 1650 Super. So again, let's see the best settings before I swap graphics cards. So best settings, 720p. And on the advanced graphics, we do medium textures really. It doesn't seem to change in real time, so medium textures. 16 times anisotropic, medium shadows, this is important. The biggest performance hit seems to be shadows, geometry on high, real-time reflections on, no motion blur, SSAO, which is the ambient occlusion, render scale at 100%, TAA, depth of field, and multi-sampling disabled. So that's basically it. So if you want 30 frames on the 750 Ti, that's how you do it, with decent visuals. So let's get out of the game. So by game for a few minutes. Let's swap to the 570. 900p is lowest settings, 30 frames per second. I already showed that. So let's swap to the 570. So time to swap to the AMD cards. Since this is a Japanese game, might as well say, notice me senpai, notice me senpai. So let's remove the 750 Ti from the PC. So see ya in a bit, 750 Ti on the next game. So let's grab the 570 now. So many cards, holy hell. 570, dual fan, 8-pin connector. Let's go. We plug it in. There we go. All right, it's in. It's time to load the drivers. We're not changing the texture filtering. Texture filtering doesn't really affect performance in most games. And on this one, it didn't seem to affect performance at all, so no need to lower it. The game looks better with it, and if we are not losing frames, what's the point of turning it off? In this case, it didn't seem to affect the frame rates, basically in any time. 570 time, yes, exactly, 570 time. do karaoke in Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm not doing karaoke because copyright material. I'm not going to risk it really to be copyrighted. So no music, sorry guys. We're doing only fighting. So we're now back into the PC. And as you can see, we got the 570 installed. So fantastic. Let's jump straight into Yakuza. Again, I'm using an Xbox 360 controller, if you were wondering. The 570 is a beast. I bet 1080p is a cake. Yeah, probably it's going to be a piece of cake for the 570. On 1080p at least. So RX 570, 1080p resolution, we're doing first. And we're going to try the highest settings. So, perfect. Vamos a probarlo con la 1660 Super. No la tengo esa, pero tengo la 1650 que debería estar 10 cuadros detrás de esa. No haces karaoke porque te da pena cantar. Sí, es cierto, perdón. La verdad que me emociono tanto con la música que no puedo hacer un karaoke. Ah, ¿qué le pasaba? You've been tuning into your live stream lately. Pretty enjoyed them. Well, thank you so much, man, for tuning in. So now we got the 570. We're going to swap to 1080p. So 1080p. We apply the settings. ¿Qué opino de las 5500 XT? Que por ese precio una 580 tiene más sentido, en mi opinión. Alright guys, so highest settings, let's go. TAA. Yep, so high settings, we start with this. So perfect. Let's get straight into the game. FPS counter on. Gotta adjust it. So where is the frame rate counter? There you are, frame rate counter. So on high settings on the 570 we're getting, let's go to the bad part. So high settings 570, we're into the 50s. Okay, upper 40s in the bad part, as you can see. So mid 40s on high settings. So if you don't care about 60 frames, because this is a turn-based game, you can use high settings just fine. Triple Furious, this is more of a story-driven game, so... And I'm also testing performance. Testing performance is not really that much fun. So yeah, mid 40s, let's do some tweaks and try to get 60s. So we lower shadows to medium. That's usually the first tweak I do. So medium shadows now, we jump into the 50s, as you can see. So medium shadows does that, makes us jump into the 50s instead of the 40s. Let's see if I run around. Okay, upper 40s, low 50s. So I'll probably use this configuration in real life. Medium shadows. So we get 50 to 60. Let's see if we can lower anything else. Maybe the reflections and the geometry. Let's see. Okay, upper 50s now. We're getting there. Yeah, much better now. Yeah, this... Let's see if the reflections have any impact at all. Oh, my mistake. Let's see, with reflections on. Alright. Yeah, reflection sound seems to be good enough. So high settings, mid geometry, and shadows. Let's first try though. This will be the settings I would use. Excuse me. So you get 60s in most places, but then in the bad parts, when running around, you get mid 50s, or when effects show up. So yeah, for the 570, pretty good. Super interesting. So let's now try lowering shadows a little bit more. Shadows on low. Yeah, shadows on low is not a huge difference, but it maintains 60 more often. So low shadows, medium geometry. So this will be the optimal settings if you want 60 frames with the highest resolution possible. What's your favorite GPU? I don't really have a favorite. Price performance at the moment, the 570 and the 580 and the 1650 Super would be my favorites, to say it in some way. But yeah, if you want 60s, Hi, Martian Defender. Yeah, the graphics guy is back. Okay, so best settings I would say for the 570 are these. We're going to try more settings now. Then we're going to play like 10 minutes of the game with the best settings. So let's pause the game again. Let's try 1440. Let's try 4K first. Let's see if we can do 4K. So 4K. Whoa. Yeah, 20 FPS at 4K. So yeah, not going to change that much. Let's do 1440p now. Yeah, 1440p. Alright, so 1440p, we're getting now 30s. So if you want a higher resolution to get better quality, so the game looks much sharper now, you're probably not going to tell in the live stream. If you want 1440p, you can do so with these settings I'm showing you right now. So 1440p, high settings, medium geometry, low shadows, the rest on high settings, and no multi-sampling. ¿Cuántos FPS debe tener mínimo un juego para ser jugable? Depende un montón del juego, digo. Este juego, como es por turnos, yo diría que 30 es más que suficiente. I was saying in Spanish, guys, somebody asked me which was the most optimal frame rate, 30 or 60. It really depends on the game. 60s is always good, but in this game we're doing turn-based combat and running around, so 30 frames should be more than enough for this one. So 1440p is playable, as you can see, at 30 frames per second, with low shadows, medium geometry, and the rest on high. So pretty good, really. I'm pretty surprised. As you can see, at 1440p, these are the settings: textures on high, low shadows, geometry on medium. You can probably do medium shadows. Let's try that out first of all. Let me see. Okay, still 30 frames, so do medium geometry and medium shadows, like that. So medium geometry, medium shadows, the rest on high, and you're getting 30s at 1440p. So not bad at all, really. Pretty good. For a 570, this is pretty good, I have to say. Okay. So now it's time to do 900p. Very quickly, so we're swapping to 900p now. Let's see if we can get 60s on high settings. So we crank up everything to high. Excellent. So 900p high settings, we're getting 60s. So 900p on high settings, no multi-sampling. We're getting 60 frames now. Yeah. How interesting. 900p high settings, it's fine. So 720p should be over 60 without a problem. Let me fix the frame rate counter. So sorry, guys. Hopefully you can see it. So 60 frames we're getting on 900p high settings, which I think the Xbox Series S is using these settings, 900p for 60 frames. So we're getting similar to the Xbox Series S, I think, which is super interesting. Maybe a thing with the engine, who knows. Yeah, some drops into the 50s at times. Maybe medium shadows makes more sense, so we don't drop into the 50s sometimes. So medium shadows. Yeah, now into the 70s, so I think no reason to use high shadows, just put them on medium. So medium shadows. So yeah, just put shadows on medium, high settings, the rest of it, and you're getting 60 frames on the 570. So yeah, super interesting, guys. I wasn't expecting this level of performance, considering this is the frame rate target of the Series S, which should have a faster GPU than this. Yeah, sometimes it still drops. Seems to be CPU related there. But I mean, we're not doing any fighting in real time. So let's use now... Well, let's try 4K low settings. Let's try that. Some people asked me to do 4K lowest settings, so we're trying it out. So great, 4K, we're doing lowest settings. because you guys wanted to see it. So we lower absolutely everything. So nothing at all. Lowest settings 4K. And we are getting mid-20s. So you're not getting 30s at 4K, as you can see. Even at the lowest settings, we're getting 23 FPS. So do not do 4K. What GPU is next? The next GPU is the RX 580. At 4K, you're getting 20 frames per second at the lowest settings. So yeah, do not do 4K. Maybe at 1800p we can do better, who knows? Let's see. Alright, if you want 1800p, which is close to 4K but not quite 4K, so 1800p lowest settings. This is not a typo, 3200 by 1800 is the resolution, which looks pretty good in a 4K screen. So low settings, 1800p. So if you want the middle ground, we can maybe do 30s with some drops into the 20s at times, probably. So 1800p. If you want a higher resolution that is close to 4K, you can do 1800p on low settings. But 4K, no way in hell the 570 can do 4K on this game. Yeah, that was 4K. Sorry, I forgot to update the 900p thing. But that was 4K. 900p is high settings, medium shadows at 60 frames per second. So yeah, let's now swap to the best settings. The best settings will be 1080p on a mix between medium and high. So let's do that. Yeah, it's an RPG now, a turn-based combat RPG, but the turn-based combat has some real-time things going for it. So medium shadows, medium geometry, reflections, yeah, let's add that, TAA, and depth of field. So best settings for the 570 are these. High settings, 1080p resolution. Hang on. Gotta fix the overlay. So high settings, mid shadows, and geometry. And that should be 50 to 60 FPS on the 570. So let's do a quick fight now so you can see in combat how it goes, since that's usually more effect heavy. So best settings are these that you see here for the 570 on 1080p. Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be testing Yakuza Like a Dragon on the 570 right now. So let's get to the objective. Cheapest card for 3440 by 1440 at 75 Hz. That would be pretty expensive. Maybe a 3070 makes sense there, if you can find one. 1050 Ti done yet? Yes, you can rewind the live stream and you'll find the 1050 Ti and the 750 Ti. Those cards were enough for 30 frames, but this one can do 60, which is pretty surprising, really. I wasn't expecting this level of performance on a Yakuza game. Alright, let's get right here. We skip the cutscenes. So we skip everything. Okay, so let's go to the fight, which is the fun part. The story is also pretty great in Yakuza games, so I guess this time they focus more on the story than the RPG elements, more than before. Let me save the progress very quickly, so we can get into the fight quicker next time. So we skip. How many VRAM do these have? It's all in the description. The 570, I have the 4GB version, the 1050 Ti 4GB, 750 Ti 2GB, and then the 580 that I have is 8GB, and the 1650 Super is 4GB, if you are wondering. So now time to fight. Let's see how effects show up. So let's do one of those skills that has effects on screen. So we mash square. Okay, when effects show up, we're dropping into the 50s. And also you can guard, as you can see, you can press circle at the perfect time and you get a perfect guard. So this is turn-based combat with some real-time stuff every once in a while. But yeah, when effects show up, it drops into the 50s. Yeah, I'm terrible at guarding in this game. So smash square. But I mean, turn-based combat, 60 frames is more of a suggestion, in my opinion. But you can get there. So yeah. Anyways. So let's now swap to the 580. Menacing Man, yeah, that name. So yeah, the 570 can do it very well. Let's swap to the 580 now. Should be a little bit better. So we get out of the game. Sí, un 1600 AF te irá perfecto. Sí, por supuesto. No deberías tener problema, Shona. Someone asked me in Spanish if the 570 with a 1600 AF CPU, if they could play this game fine. Yeah, of course, you'd be totally fine. This is more of a GPU bound game. So we're swapping now to the 580, guys. 1 second. So we remove the 570. Oh man, it's hot. Jesus. Shouldn't touch GPUs when they are just removed. So here's the 570 I just used. Let's now jump into the 580. So the 580 is the 8GB version, the triple fan 580, super chunky card. But I'm going to use the dual fan clocks so you can see the performance in most 580s. Maybe for 4K we can do some overclocking. But right now, let's do stock clocks. And I gotta put a screw here so I don't break my PCI Express slot. And then, whoa, I dropped the screw. Come on, screw. There you go. Now we're talking. HDMI cable in. And boom, back in. Se camufla, sí, tengo la capa de invisibilidad. I'm using RTX NVIDIA broadcast that uses the tensor cores on an RTX card, so it removes the background. I don't have a green screen, but it works pretty well. The thing is, when I go to this side, it kind of breaks, as you can see, but looks pretty good. Anyways, let's see. MSI Afterburner. Alright, so we're back into the PC now, as you can see. And I have the 580 in, but as you can see as default, the triple fan 580 has 1411 MHz in the core clock. We're going to drop that to 1366. So these are the stock settings of a 580. Then for 4K, we're going to do overclocking and all that good stuff. But at the moment, let's do stock clocks, so it's a good reference. So we open Yakuza Like a Dragon. And we're using high settings first. So high settings, 1080p resolution. My RX 580 Sapphire Nitro Special Edition. Well, it should be similar to this then, in performance. I'm going to overclock later, don't worry. Again, thanks to SEGA for providing a copy of the game. I have to mention that every once in a while. So remember, use a gamepad. Makes the game a lot more enjoyable, in my opinion at least. So settings, let's jump straight into highest settings at 1080p. All right, and let me see if there's a VSync going on. Okay, no VSync. And we continue in the last part. You have an RX 580. Is it a good idea to buy a 5500 XT or just keep your 580? Keep your 580 and have fun. I mean, the 580 runs super similar, so no need to upgrade at the moment, I think. No need to upgrade to the 5500 XT. Alright, let's go to the demanding part. But at the moment we're dropping into the 50s at times, nothing major. But we're aiming for 60. Let me see the map. I'm pretty lost. Oh, I have to get to that place. Dang it. Hang on. Sorry guys, forgot to load the correct save. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, keep it. DXRKLXRD. Make sure to, yeah, just keep it. The 580. Do not upgrade to the 5500 XT. It's barely an upgrade, really. So on the worst part, on high settings 1080p, we're getting 50s. Doesn't seem to drop into the 40s yet. Yeah, still into the 50s. So let's do a quick tweak here. We're going to drop shadows to medium. So max settings, shadows on medium. Yeah, we're locked to 60 now, it seems. So mid shadows. A very slight improvement over the 570. So mid shadows for this. And this will be my best settings for the 580. You're going to get some drops into the 50s at times. But again, 1080p is okay on these settings. So do not worry, you can run it just fine on the 580. Let's try higher resolutions now. Let's have some fun. Let's try 1440p now. So at 1440p, we're getting, with these settings, 1440p, we're getting 40s, so we can crank it up if we want it. So if you put medium shadows, you can do 40 frames at 1440p. Oh, I forgot the frame rate counter, sorry guys. There we go, frame rate counter. So I'm going to try 60s at 1440p in a bit. But as you can see, it's over 30 just fine. Let's see if I max it out, what happens. So high settings, 1440p. Yeah, on the highest settings, we're still over 30 all the time. So do not worry, if you want 1440p, you can do it at 30 frames on the highest settings. So perfect. 1440p, 30 frames, maximum settings. Let's drop it to the lowest. Let's see if we can get 60 frames. So 60 frames, please. I want that. So 1440p, lowest settings, we're getting 50s. Okay, 50s in the bad part. So not bad, considering it's 1440p. Pretty interesting. Yeah, the 580 is almost the same performance as the 570. It's like 5 to 10 FPS ahead in general. So I wasn't expecting a huge improvement, but there is an improvement for sure. But it's not that noticeable. In this game at least, it's not a huge boost. But yeah, you can do 1440p low settings at over 50 frames. Let's do 4K now. Let's see 4K, if we can do 4K, that will be interesting. So 4K low settings, we're getting 28 FPS, so almost the same as the 570, maybe a couple FPS ahead. So 4K low settings, below 30, as you can see, 28. On the 570 we got 26, I think. So let's do some overclocking. Let's see if we can get those 30 FPS. So 1 second guys, going to overclock the GPU and change the size of the overlay. So we alt tab out of the game. And we overclock the GPU. So we're going to, just to avoid crashes, I'm going to put it at 50% power limit. And the core clock is going to be 1455. I think that was the core clock that I was able to do. And 2500 megahertz. Oh, okay, maximum memory clock speed. Let's apply it. Hopefully it doesn't crash, but hey, who knows how the game behaves. So we apply the overclock. Please don't crash. And we jump back into the game now. Okay. So the game is paused, and let's change the size of the overlay. So we're getting now, instead of 26, we jumped all the way up into the 30s. So great, you can do 4K low settings. Apparently it's going to drop below 30, I'm sure, on the 580. If you wanted to do so, probably going to drop into the upper 20s when running around. Yeah, it's dropping into the upper 20s, so 4K, I don't think it's a good idea. Oh, I forgot, this is the overclock. So 580 overclocked to 1455. So as you can see, with an overclock, you jump from the mid-20s to the low 30s at 4K. So if you wanted to do 4K low settings, you can kinda do so, but not really. So yeah, not that bad. So let's now do 1800p, which should be close to 4K, but not quite 4K. So 1800p, let's change the status to 1800p, so 3200 by 1800. This is that resolution. So with the overclock in place, let's see how many FPS. This looks pretty good on a 4K display, 1800p, so that's why I'm telling you about it. So low settings, 1800p, we jump into the 40s, so pretty interesting. Let's see if we can crank it up a little bit. We're going to try medium. So we max out the texture filtering, medium shadows. Now let's try medium shadows with the rest cranked up. So let's give that a try. All right, low 30s. Let's do some extra tweaking. I don't want any SSAO or reflections. Now let's keep SSAO, looks pretty good. Okay, low 30s, should be okay. So 1800p, if you want 30 frames at 1800p, this would be mid settings, SSAO on, no reflections. So if you want 30 frames on 1800p, use these settings. I'm going to show you those settings right now. So 1800p, as you can see on the screen. Advanced settings, we're using this. So no reflections, we get ambient occlusion, and no multi-sampling, as you can see. So highest resolution possible at 30 frames is this. So if you cared about 1800p, isn't TAA pointless at 4K? No, it's not pointless because it's it makes the image a little bit softer, and with the amount of pixels that you have, 4K looks super good, no jaggies at all. You can notice jaggies at 4K without anti-aliasing. So TAA is really great at 1440p and above. On 1080p and below, TAA looks pretty blurry in my opinion. So 4K with the amount of pixels, it actually looks pretty good. So yeah. What game is this? You can find it in the description and the title is Yakuza Like a Dragon, the newest game from the Yakuza franchise. Triple Furious, I mean, I'm not doing anything in the game actually. So this is not a good representation of what the game is about. I'm just running around doing nothing. So there are side activities, there's stupid things happening. It can be super fun in that way. So let's now swap to 1080p. This is not a game where, like GTA, that you're running around punching random people in the face. Just keep that in mind. This is a completely different type of game. Which is fine, it's not for everyone. I personally prefer the previous Yakuza games because it was like a beat 'em up button masher. So let's go back to 1080p now. Whoa, I forgot about something. Let's disable the overclock now. So we're going back to 1366 and 30% power limit. So 1366, we apply it, and we go back to 1080p now. So overclock is disabled now, and we're doing 1080p resolution, high settings, medium shadows. So mid shadows. This should be the best settings for the 580 to get 50 to 60 frames, as you can see. Something like this. So if you're interested in 50 to 60 on the 580, do 1080p with these settings. So let's get back into the game now. And we show you the frame rate counter. So frame rate counter all the way here. So let's now load the part with the fighting. So there's some fighting going on at least. And we stress test the GPU a little bit more. Did your Twitter get reported? No, I deleted my Twitter. It was not a good place to hang out, so I completely got off Twitter. I don't like Twitter nowadays. It's super toxic. So I prefer to stay in the live streams, comment directly on the channel. Instagram is a little bit better. So yeah, Twitter is absolute garbage in my opinion nowadays. So I prefer to keep that toxicity away. Not from the people that talk to me on Twitter, but the publications. It's always a stupid fight on Twitter, so I prefer to stay away. Anyways, so now we're doing effects and it drops, okay, into the low 60s, no big deal. We block. As you can see, you can block in real time. In this turn-based game, you can do a perfect guard, like if it was some sort of different game. So let's use another effect-heavy thing. We mash square. Still mid-60s. So yeah, a little bit better than the 570. Drops into the 50s there at the end of the fight, but yeah, no big deal. Turn-based game. Can you test this game at nighttime? We'll see at the end of the video. Well, Twitter for K-pop. Well, the things I got recommended on Twitter were pretty terrible. A lot of toxic game journalism. That's what I got on my Twitter, unfortunately. Not all the game journalism is bad, but the bad ones always slip into my Twitter back then. So yeah, I just deleted Twitter. At this point, nobody's going to miss me there. Don't worry. So anyways, those are the best settings for the 580. High settings, medium shadows, 50 to 60, super smooth. Let's now swap to the 1650 Super and keep playing the game a little bit. So we're going to remove the 580 now. Super interesting. The performance, I wasn't expecting that performance. I'm pretty surprised, really. Considering all the bad performance we've been getting in new games lately, this is a breath of fresh air. Anyways, let's wait for the PC to turn off. It's off. Let's swap graphics cards. So we remove the 8-pin connector, we remove the HDMI, and we remove the screw holding all this together. Bye-bye screw. Okay, 580 is out now of the PC. Let's put now the 1650 Super. Has a 6-pin connector, as you can see there. So let's plug it in. All right. Best core clock for 1050 Ti. You should be able to get to 1800 or 1900 in most 1050 Ti's. I have a 570 with 1340 MHz core clock and 2000 memory clock. How would it perform? It should be, yeah, basically the same as my 570. Maybe one frame behind. Other than that, should be the same. It's the same GPU after all, so don't worry, you'll be just fine. Use medium geometry, medium shadows on 1080p, the rest maxed out, and no multi-sampling, and you should be fine. Alright, so time for the 1650 Super now. So 1650 Super on 1080p. We're going to start with high settings. So let's launch MSI Afterburner once more. Latest drivers. Every time I finish a live stream, I remove all drivers, so there's no issues on the software side. Don't worry, guys. I just keep the drivers pre-installed for the live stream. After I do all the swaps, I remove the drivers entirely. So do not worry about that. I always delete drivers after the live stream finishes. So yeah. Hey bro, I loved your channel. What is a good setting for Ghost Recon Wildlands to get 50 to 60? Ryzen 5 3500 and RX 580. Probably a mix between medium and high settings. Yeah, high settings should be enough. Make sure to lower the ground tessellation to medium. Sorry, the draw distance, I think it was, world detail to medium. That destroys the frame rate, the shadows as well. And do not use any of the NVIDIA settings. The grass effects, do not put the NVIDIA versions. Those destroy the frame rate. Sprint gaming, my OBS settings are 4K, NVIDIA encoders or NVENC, 40,000 at bitrate. So 4K 60, 40,000 bitrate. So max settings 1080p now. Let's see if we can maintain 60s with this one. So continue, and we select the same part as before. Alright, so we're back into the game now. Okay, 50s, low 50s on the highest settings 1080p. So super similar to the 580, as you can see. A little bit faster, I think. Yeah, it's a little bit faster, I think, than the 580, but almost the exact same. So it doesn't seem to favor either NVIDIA or AMD exactly. So let's move shadows to medium. So medium shadows now. So high settings, medium shadows. So mid shadows, high settings. My 1650 Super is not undervolted. I'm getting mid 70s sometimes. So I lower the settings to medium now, the shadows to medium, and yeah, it's almost the same as the 580. If you have a dual fan, bigger 1650 Super, it's probably going to be a couple extra frames. But it seems to be basically the same. 50 to 60 frames. Maybe a little bit slower, not entirely sure. So almost the same as the 580, as you can see. Let's now try 1440p. So 1440p with these settings. So 1440p, high settings, medium shadows. So 1440. Let's zoom into the frame rate counter. So 41 FPS with these settings. Again, almost the same as the 580. Everything about the stream is listed in the description. So the streaming PC, the settings are not there, but it's a 4K stream. Everything is listed below, if you wanted to know. So yeah, 40 FPS this way. Let's crank it up to the max. So maximum settings 1440p. We're getting on high settings over 30 frames. So if you want 30 frames, you can do 1440p maximum settings just fine without multi-sampling, and the game looks so much sharper, it's ridiculous. And let's now do lowest settings 1440p. So we drop to the lowest. Let's see if we can get 60s, probably not, considering the numbers I've been getting on this one. So low settings 1440p. we're getting 50 to 60. So yeah, almost the same as the 580. Sorry for repeating myself, but yeah, almost the exact same. If you want 50 to 60 at 1440p, low settings, you should be okay. Let's now do 4K, because we did it on the other cards as well. Would be pretty funny. Alright, so 4K, lowest settings, we're getting 27 FPS, 28, so almost the same as the 580, as the stock 580. Whoa, sorry, I moved the camera there. So almost the same as the 580, as you can see. Upper 20s at 4K, lowest settings. Oh, this is 4K, sorry, forgot the status. So 4K resolution. And we're getting basically upper 20s like the 580. So yeah, absolutely wonderful. So yeah, anyways. What about the 1660 Ti? The 1660 Ti should be able to do 4K low settings on this one. I do not have 1800p in this list, so let's now do the optimal settings and play a little bit more of the game. So at least you know more of what is it about with the fighting and all that. So let's do shadows on medium, geometry on high, real-time reflections, SSAO, anti-aliasing on TAA, and depth of field. So best settings for the 1650 Super are these, which is 1080p, first and foremost, and then high settings, medium shadows. So pretty good, pretty decent. So yeah, anyways, let's get back into the game now. Alright, there we go. So these are the best settings for the 1650 Super. Jason says, why don't I get a real job? Well, because if I got one of those that you're talking about, it's probably going to suck. And I don't like my job to suck. I prefer to enjoy life. Anyways, if that was a joke, well, I'm not understanding it really. But hey. Let's do now for a little bit of fighting like we did before. So we skip the cutscenes, as usual. Alright. Let's get to the menacing man again. Menacing man. Yeah, let's watch the cutscene this time, because we don't have a hurry. Come on, you gotta pay your taxes. What? Tax? What task? Tax? Tax! Oh man. New Year's Eve tax, buddy. I mean, 6 and beer have a luxury tax on them, don't they? So good time on New Year's costs a little extra too. Okay, interesting. Why would I pay that to you then? Just get out of your GDAM wallet. That's the lamest as I ever heard. Yeah, that's right. Get out of here, you little punks. Huh? Who the hell are you? I was just cruising by. It's New Year's. Can't you just let people chill tonight? But it's daytime. What the heck? Sorry, but we're open for business on the holidays. So if we want to mess with our business, we'll have to just bust up yours. Oh, pretty scary. Look at those eyes. But lowlifes like you give Kamurocho a bad name, and I'm not about to stand for that. Grrr. Get off your effing high horse. Eff it. Let's kill this guy. Okay. That was super dramatic. Super Japanese. But I think that's the attraction of the game. The dialogue and the weird story. So let's smash square. Yeah, still over 60. And I'm not sure why the CPU is maxed out. What a weird thing. Okay, I got him. Yeah, now the CPU usage is into the 90s. Not sure what's going on really. This didn't happen in the AMD cards as far as I remember. But again, still enough for 60 frames, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Unless you have a quad-core CPU, that might give you some stutters every once in a while. Triple Furious GTA games are nothing like Yakuza. That's the mistake. The mistake is comparing Yakuza with GTA. It's nothing like GTA. It's completely different. And it never was. So yeah. Anyways. No sweat, buddy. But for real, Kamurocho's more dangerous than usual in New Year's. Everyone's drunk and waving their cash around. It's easy pickings out here tonight, but it's daytime. So be careful, okay? I will. Thank you very much, sir. You can't touch your core voltage option in MSI Afterburner. Why? It should be in the settings, you should be able to unlock it there. I guess I better get that damn plunger from the lady at the cigarette shop. The heck? The plunger. So my mission is to get a plunger for a lady in a cigarette shop. That's so ridiculous, I love it. A plunger? Yeah, you have one of those, right? Could you run into Shangri-La? Hey, can't you just buy them one? They raised you for crying out loud. A man your age should be sending money back to his family by now anyway. Whoa, burn! Do you think I can afford that when I'm barely scraping by assists? They want to dump that trashy Arakawa family and enjoy a clan with some real push, so she wants me to join another Yakuza family. Even bottom of the ladder is better than the gutter, right? Whoa! That lady knows! You idiot, I swore my oath to Arakawa-san. I never abandoned him. Loyal as a dog, but say, Ichi, I've been hearing rumors. It's true you're babysitting Arakawa's kids these days? Blah blah blah, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, Arakawa's family owner is riding on us. Yeah, he said we're free to do whatever we gotta do. We might have to get rough. Whoa, that sounds interesting. So where's this clown now? Probably hanging around Public Park 3 if I had to guess. I'll go ahead and check it out. Meet me over there, Aniki. Gotcha. So this punk hangs in Public Park 3, huh? Let's go there. Yeah, this game is certainly not for everyone. That's the best way to put it. I like these games due to the story and the ridiculous dialogue and the side quests. Just doing weird Japanese stuff all around. It's been pretty funny. The big guy here is Hiratsuka. You know him, Aniki? Not important. Let's do it. What's up, Hiratsuka-san? Taking a little break, huh? Does having a smoke feel extra good when the zigs are on borrowed cash? Whoa, burn! You got a death wish? You know we're Yakuza, right? The other family wasn't as compared to us. The Arakawa family knows how to collect. If you don't want to get hurt, then leave your wallet. You wanna go there, huh? I can't pay what I can't pay. Real talk. They're such badasses. This is the manliest dialogue I've ever seen. Still larger than life, huh? Who the hell are you? Remember, we used to wrestle together as kids. What? You scared the ass out of us because you thought it was cool to powerbomb a bunch of kids. That sounds weird in the worst context. So you're Soppy Ichiban. If you're going with this guy, then fitting that you'd end up in the Yakuza. Life's a bitch. Go F yourself. No can do. Yakuza's orders are absolute. You know that now, kids? And my orders are to do what I gotta do when you're to get your damn wallet. So what about you hand it over? I told you I don't got your money. Come on, great son. All I need is your wallet. No reason to make this rougher than it has to be. You got me? Anyways, gotta skip all this. A lot of dialogue, as you can see. So you're into this weird dialogue. This game has it. But it's pretty funny dialogue so far. Let's do the special attack. Boom, more effects on screen. Over 60 still. Okay, let's block it. Whoa. The last time I fought him, he wasn't able to use the hammer. So it changes. Sometimes he will miss the hammer shot there. The hammer hit, better said. Holy hell. That's a lot of damage. I think I'm going to die. Yeah, there you go. He messed up there. What about Facebook? You don't like it at all? Facebook, I usually use it more for news than anything else. I don't like to hang around Facebook at all. I usually don't like social networks in general. But if I have to communicate with friends or sell PC parts, I use Facebook. Oh look, a weapon! So yeah, I leveled up now. HP rose by 5. Okay, as you can see now, this is more of an RPG. It's more Final Fantasy than ever before. You're still a truck. Yeah, he's an absolute beast. So the wallet is coming with us. I'll give you anything else, I'm begging you. What do you mean? You said you didn't have the money. And he had it. He did have the money. What do you mean? He lied to us? His wallet was full of junk. What? Looks like money. I don't know what's happened. Anyways, guys, see, I'm going to do the RTX 2060 now. So, if you guys want to hang out, I'm going to do a separate live stream. There's going to be what's the name of this? Ugh. I'm going to change because the streaming PC has the 2060 in it. So yeah, let's swap to the 2060. But before that, gotta thank the members. So again, thanks to SEGA for providing a copy of the game. Now it's time to thank the members for being members. That's how we roll. So we're going to have another live stream now with the 2060. Pay respects to the construction worker there. So monetization, memberships. So here are all the members. The tier 2 members get a shout out at the end of the live stream. So thanks to all the tier 2 members and the members as well for your awesome 2.0 support. So thanks to Coconuts, thanks to Abhishek Mukherjee, sorry if I messed that up, Rodrigo Duarte, Christo Kavadjov, Sunak Das, and Ken for being the awesome supporters 2.0, which are the tier 2 memberships for the channel. If you want to join, again, click the join button next to the subscribe. And if you don't want to join, that's fine. You can just watch the video and still support me with a like, a subscription. So yeah, going to swap to the 2060 now. Going to put the link in the chat so you can join. So let's get this way. Going to paste the RTX 2060 live stream. I should be live in a few minutes. So if you want to join the other live stream, there you go. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this live stream. I'll see you in a few minutes with the 2060, and I'll see you next time.